earlier today was walking around and thinking about, what we would talk about on the stream today, and I thought about just a couple weeks ago how hot the topic was of, Jim Harbaugh, him coming back, and just the reaction to that. Like, it was, piping hot as far as on social media, things like that. And I think Jim Harbaugh overall does that as far as him, his name. But it made me think about just how quick the news cycle now is in just the era that we live in. Because really, when I thought about it, I was like, man, that happened so long ago. And it's like, it really wasn't that long ago. But the news cycle, people say 24 hours. I'm like, that's kind of true. Like, it really made me think about it and realize, like, how quick the news cycles really just turn over, where it's like, all right, we're constantly looking for the next story, and nothing really hangs on for that long. Say it again.
Except for the Major League Baseball lockout. I mean, that seems to be the same thing, but that's a whole other sport. Whatever. Don't get me started. Just saying.
But I thought that was interesting. What were your thoughts on that, Dre?
I think it's one of those things where it was I think it was in a decent timing. Was that before the Super Bowl or after the Super Bowl? I can't remember. Because the Super Bowl, if you think about it, like you said, that was only 4 weeks ago. So it was around my birthday, which is always, my birthday is February 7th. So yeah, it's about 4 weeks ago. I don't know. Yeah, a lot has happened. And I think the biggest thing now is because it's due to the time of year, pretty much right after the Super Bowl, we get focused on the draft. And that's, what are most things people are. I would be willing to bet that one of the top search sports subjects this time of the year is mock drafts. Like, it's that time of year. And so, this is when then the combine happens. And so anytime the combine happens, you have some kind of huge rises due to great performance at the combine. You have guys who have like these red flags to their Wonderlic score or combine results or what have you. So I think that's part of it is due to the time of the year, and pretty much, everyone's pretty much way more focused on the draft than where Jim Harbaugh decided to do or not do.
Yeah, Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think your big indicator there is that how we are so focused on the future. And okay, we just saw that 10 minutes ago. It's over. Let's move on to the next thing. Is they don't even let these guys breathe after they've won a national championship or a Super Bowl, and it's like one question about how does it feel, and then the next question is either can you do it again, or are you going to be back, and it's always, we're always forward thinking. All you have to do is look at these channels. I'm sure other ones are similar to ours here, the Voice of College Football. Most of these speculative videos do the best. People speculating, even if it's crazy speculation, like it's never going to happen. Urban Meyer's coming to Michigan. Oh, it gets a ton of views. The crazy speculative type content is what people are after. Yep.
Yeah, it was interesting. Go ahead, Dre.
No, it's just one of those things where, I think about like Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford went from, in probably like a 3-4 week span, the guy, the hero who got saved from Detroit, and is now bringing the championship to LA, to video circulating of him, intoxicated at the parade, till like 24 to 48 hours later, the photographer failed, and Stafford turned his back or whatever it was. It's crazy how things change because we're constantly looking for the next thing. But yeah, it's always a speculatory or slanderous type news that we tend to get caught up on. Besides just like the status quo, same old.
Yeah, it moves so quick, and like Mark was saying, you win a national championship, and like the next day, on ESPN, you've got the way too early top 25. Like it literally is just
That's
so quick.
ridiculous, though. I can't stand that. And I know,
But people, I guarantee, I
I don't think
guarantee
they
the
wait
reason
that
that it's
long.
there is because people click on it. I would guarantee it, and people want to see that too. Like, okay, well, Jordan Davis is leap. What's Georgia going to do to replace those guys they're losing on defense? And how are they? It's. I mean, people want it. I think it's something people
in
want to see.
college, we don't know. It's like and the thing, and that's why I commend someone like Mark, because it's like there's so much that changes in college year to year. It's not like the NFL where guys are signed for the most part, and where they're going, and they're pretty constant. Contract in college, there's gonna be huge turnover, or just guys getting. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's so much harder to predict.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Ed Rogers with the comment: "We won't let you forget how Harbaugh abandoned his team and you welcomed him back like a conquering hero." That is. Oh, I think he said it all there. But I know on yeah, obviously with our channel, we were extremely critical of Jim Harbaugh and not necessarily his decision of what he did, which to me he's got the ability and the right to do whatever he'd like, but I just don't think he did Michigan any favors with how it went about. Now, as yesterday's news cycle, I mean, you look at it today and really, I guess there's no real ill effects today. I think when you start to talk about potentially recruiting and things like that, where you may go up against an Ohio State, for a recruit, maybe not, but I would assume Ohio State and really any of the bigger schools are going to bring that up. That man, do you even know if your coach is going to be there in 2 years? He's done this before. Is it because at the end of the day, I mean, recruiting, it's definitely not the cleanest business of all out there. And at the end of the day, winning is the only thing that really truly matters, and that's the thing that's going to get you paid the big bucks. You look at a guy like Jimbo Fisher, you look at Nick Saban, Dabo Sweeney, Ryan Day, like those guys are getting paid a lot of money. It's because they win, and in order to win, you got to get those recruits. So, I think most likely we'll see the effects of that maybe, and the next, this next cycle after spring happens, from spring to, essentially training camp, potentially of guys hopping in the portal, things like that. So we'll see. But I mean, in hindsight, it doesn't look like there's many ill effects of Jim Harbaugh and how he handled the whole situation, if I'm being completely honest about it.
Yeah, I just think, and it's just due to the fact that it just wasn't, I think, a lot of turnover in terms of personnel. Like, I think if we would have saw something drastic, like, JJ McCarthy entering the transfer portal or something like that, that would have really, like, kind of opened up some eyes. Like a change that Michigan fans have been, tied to emotionally, and we're going to get into JJ ironically in a minute. Something like that would have kind of jarred the fan base, and therefore, caused people to have some kind of visceral reaction, as opposed to really nothing really changed. No harm, no foul, essentially, besides just embarrassment and irritation and inconvenience. That was pretty much the result of that whole situation. So, we kind of we don't forget. I'm not forgetting, and I hope no one else forgets. But we're going to move forward.
Yeah. And Ferris says, I thought Harbaugh was fairly transparent in his NFL interests. And honestly, Ferris, I would argue that is part of the problem. When you're in a public position, like that's your profession, there's some transparency that you should definitely have, but I don't think you should be 100% transparent, because that's when you run into these issues. And to me, I think he was more transparent after he made his decision. Like, I don't think he was very transparent early on. He was just letting rumors fly, whether correct or not. He was just letting them fly without doing anything. He was just sitting back and not really quelling the rumors. It would have been very easy for him to do that. And I think that that is one of the downfalls of not having an agent, because it'd be very easy for an agent to be able to manage that kind of PR situation versus Jim himself. I don't, well, based on the track record, I don't think he does great with that. So that's just, I guess, my 2 cents on it.